It's the level check microphone, level check from the Fox 19 Now Streaming Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Horstmeyer. In less than a minute, we are going to be live on all the venues and all the platforms we normally are. And again, we do this every Monday through Friday at 7:15. Some days there's a huge crowd, especially when we have severe weather or snow on the way. Some days people are out enjoying the weather, and I tell you what, that's your choice, but I'd love to have you take part in our weather discussion. So less than a minute, actually right now it says it is time to go live. So hi everybody, I'm Steve Horstmeyer, Chief Meteorologist at Fox 19 Now, and what we have coming our way is a warm-up and the possibility of some rain, but please do not get your hopes up. Take a look at what we're looking at here on our tower cam shot. And what I want to show you especially is that you can see that smoke that's up there high in the atmosphere. Okay, now that smoke from the forest fires and wildfires out in the Pacific Northwest, and the smoke itself is not going to come to the ground. So it's not going to be an issue for air quality. It's not going to be an issue for your breathing, especially if you're an individual with respiratory ailment. It will not have any impact on what you do over the next couple of days, because it's going to stay high in the atmosphere, unlike last year when it came from an area closer to us, and so it stayed close to the ground for a longer period of time rather than get lifted on high into the atmosphere. So that's what we are looking at. Hi everybody, I'm Steve Horstmeyer, Chief Meteorologist here at Fox 19 Now. Hope you had a great weekend. I know I did. What did I do? Well, my wife and I watched some TV. I got the pool closed. I walked the dogs 2 different days, 10 miles, 5 miles each day. So I had a good weekend. Anytime, I like to say this, not because I don't like my job, not because I don't like Fox 19, but every weekend's a good weekend. They're just different levels of goodness. You know, when you work hard, you need to get away from it so you're fresh on on Monday, and that's what we've got. Okay, now take a look at this. If you look here closely, you see kind of the stripes here. Okay, that's not cloud cover. That is the smoke from those wildfires out in the Pacific Northwest, and overall, again, staying high in the atmosphere, but next couple of days, we're going to see some of that. Right now, 76 degrees at the International Airport. Now, this temperature was actually measured about 25 minutes ago. They measure them at around 52, or about 8 minutes before the hour. And that's so they can get the latest temperature out at the top of the hour. That goes way, way back. But overall, that's the tradition. So we just call it the 7 p.m. temperature. In reality, it was like 6:52. Okay, that was our tower cam shot. Here is our Turfway. Oh, I know what I did. I've got the wrong button pushed here. Here is our Turfway Park shot. And you can see the smoke out there too. Not as well defined as looking away from the sun, but you can see the blue skies kind of got that milky appearance, and that milky appearance is just the smoke high in the atmosphere and how it interacts with the light from the sun. Okay, so here is our satellite radar loop, a wide view. The next weather maker that we've got coming our way is actually going to come from the south. Okay, you see this stuff out here, you think, oh, the weather comes from the west. Well, in this case, it's coming from down here. This is Tropical Storm Francine. Will probably become Hurricane Francine, maybe Category 2 according to the Hurricane Center, and then it'll come right up the Mississippi River Valley and may have an impact on us. Unfortunately, it's not. I wouldn't get your hopes up for a great deal of rain every location. There'll be some spots that get a nice soaking rain, others that don't get much at all, and we'll look at those here in just a couple seconds. So let's go ahead and take a look at the smoke pattern. And any place you see this blue here, this is the smoke from those wildfires. Some areas the smoke's a little thicker, like here over Iowa, eastern Kentucky, into southern West Virginia, thicker. And then if you look way out to the northwest, okay, now I'm going to stop the weather program here and drag this map over a little bit so you can see what I'm talking about a little bit better. Right there. You can see the smoke is really thick, very, very thick, and a lot of this is at ground level, and this is in British Columbia, up on into Alberta, on up way to the north, and then also from Oregon into Idaho, on into Montana, quite a bit of smoke there in the atmosphere. And that smoke is going to continue to be a problem because there's a fire, I think they call it the Bridge Fire in Southern California, that overnight quadrupled its size. It got 4 times bigger because of Santa Ana winds, really hot weather, and very dry weather out there. And so it's a big, big problem as it's going to continue to be that particular fire and all the other fires which are expected throughout the year on into for the next couple of decades as the West gets hotter and drier as the Earth continues to warm. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look now at, there's that high pressure system we talked about. It's keeping everything far away from us. There's just not much coming our way. What's going to happen is as the high eases off to the east, our winds become increasingly southerly, and that is going to warm us up. So we've got high temperatures at or around 90 Wednesday and Thursday. Now, I want to emphasize that this is not like the 90s we had a week or 10 days ago, 12 days ago. Not with that really high humidity and dew point temperatures that push that heat index way into the 100s. There's going to be relatively low humidity as we head for those 2 days. Now, the humidity will increase, but that won't increase until Francine gets to the tri-state. So there's a close-up view of Francine off the coast of Mexico. Now, Francine is expected to get much stronger. The Gulf of Mexico water is very warm. And here is the latest forecast from the Hurricane Center. It has Francine, right now you see it's a tropical storm. That's the circle that south of San Fernando that is not filled in. Hurricane Center expects to become Cat 1 hurricane overnight. By 1 p.m., it's just to the west of Brownsville, Texas. Brownsville is the farthest southern point in Texas where there's a city. It becomes a Category 2 off the coast of Texas, and then right now they're saying not far from Lake Charles, Louisiana, maybe a little bit east of that, Category 2 hurricane as it comes on shore in southern Louisiana, and that will be Wednesday around 1 p.m. with 100-mile-an-hour winds. Right now the winds are at 65 miles an hour, and the winds are out of the north-northwest at 7 miles an hour, and that was the latest advisory at 5 p.m. Okay, so let's take a look at what happens then. What you see here is that the hurricane quickly weakens back to a tropical storm by the time it hits the Mississippi River, follows the Mississippi River, maybe a little bit west of it for a while, and then comes up here to southern Illinois. Now, these things are pretty big, so there will be some bands of rain that come through Cincinnati. Unfortunately, from a rainfall perspective, what happens, this thing just kind of sits here and dies. It really doesn't make it into Cincinnati. Now, I've looked at every single model that I have available, and they all say the same thing. We're talking about the European and the European ensemble, the GFS or the North American model and its ensemble, the Canadian model and its ensemble, the German model, which is called the Icon model, and its ensemble. They all have this thing coming up to southern Illinois, kind of easing close enough to us to bring a little bit of rain, and then just kind of backing off and dying out. And that's not good news, because we really hoped everybody would get a soaking rain. Now, some places will, and we'll look at that coming up here in detail. So that's it. Okay, so here's what happens with the rainfall. Now watch, this is what I meant. We're starting out at 10 o'clock tonight. We put this thing into motion here, okay, and you'll see that we're into Wednesday, we're into Thursday, still nothing, and then stop the clock, 7:10 a.m. Friday. The rain looks like it's just moving into Madison, Indiana, pretty soon after that into Carroll and Owen counties. So we put this back into motion so that by 12:40 p.m., some fairly steady rain south and west of the city, rain all the way up into Butler, northern Claremont, northern Brown, and Adams counties, not quite to Highland County yet. Now watch what happens, okay? This is 12:40 p.m., and then as we head on into the latter part of Friday evening, just begins to die out, okay? And then overnight, we see some more rainfall develop, but notice here, it still isn't to the northeastern, so northern Warren County, Clinton County, Highland County, Adams County don't see much rainfall at all through Saturday at 5:40 a.m. And then watch what happens is with the models forecast just kind of dies out again. And by Saturday at 5:20, most of us are rain-free. So what that tells you is most of the rainfall that you see from this is going to be south and west, with very little off to the north and east. Now, all the models are saying this. Just because all the models say it doesn't mean that's exactly what's going to happen, because the models can be wrong. Just because everybody in a room has the same opinion doesn't mean that's correct. Just because all the models have the same opinion doesn't mean it's absolutely correct. So there could be some changes here, but I just don't want many areas to get their hopes up that you're going to get a great deal of rainfall. Okay, and so then it kind of moves off back to the south and west and dies out without much else going on. Okay, so as Francine comes our way, look at this. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, really comfortable dew points. Francine will drag sticky air back into the tri-state, so dew point temperatures will be in the 60s Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Now, 63, 64, 63, and 60 are not incredibly humid. By what we've been through this summer, this does not represent really, really awfully, horribly humid weather. It just represents enough humidity that you'll feel it. If you're out exercising or working outside, it'll make it uncomfortable and you'll sweat a lot. But it is not extreme humidity. However, it is much more humid than it is right now. Okay. So let's go ahead and take a look at what the European model says. European model says if you're in Middletown, Wilmington, Hillsborough, you barely get anything. That includes Lebanon. As you head south and westward, Batesville, Lawrenceburg, Florence, Cincinnati, Dry Ridge, Owenton, Falmouth may get more than an inch. Other areas get that. Now, this is the optimistic model. Take a look at the North American model, okay? And you see 300s in Connersville, 1/100th in Hamilton and Lebanon, 0 in Middletown, Wilmington, Hillsborough. And so that's why I'm saying to everybody, don't get your hopes up, because typically when one of those tropical systems comes through, if it comes up the river and right over top of us, everybody gets some rainfall. But in this case, it's kind of dying out over southern Illinois and western Kentucky, and we are just kind of on the edge of it. Now, are all the models going to be right? Will the edge make it a little bit farther north and east and give more rain to our northeastern counties? That's a possibility. But right now the trend is that it will kind of die out over southern Illinois. The rain will make it this far, and then as it dies out, it'll kind of withdraw back to the south and west, and we end up with a lot of hopes dashed that we get the rainfall we need. So I've got my fingers crossed, but right now the models are not in favor of us getting much in the way of rainfall. And that's really bad news. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at airport temperatures at 7 p.m. or again, just a few minutes before 7 o'clock. 68 in Batesville, everybody else in the 70s right there. Sunset this evening's at 7:57, so we've got about 20 minutes before the sun goes down. And then for about 45 minutes after that, it's still bright enough to get some things done. 76 is the current temperature, dropping to 61 by 11 p.m. Overnight, I've got a low of 51 in the forecast. Sunrise at 7:14. Okay, oops, didn't mean to do that. Let's stop the program. I loaded some new versions of these scenes into the weather program and just basically forgot that they are set up to animate. Okay, so there's the 6 to 10 day outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. And you can see that expects us to be warmer than normal through that 6 to 10 day period. If we go to the 8 to 14 day outlook, it does the same thing. I will correct that. There we go. Same thing, warmer than normal in the tri-state. And the 3 to 4 week outlook, which came in, boy, I tell you what, this is driving me crazy. Okay, I'll fix this one. The 3 to 4 week outlook, which is only updated every Friday, so that came in Friday, has most of the eastern United States from the Rockies eastward warmer than normal. So it's looking like as we start October, we're going to be warmer than normal. But what about precipitation? Okay. Geez, how did I do that? Okay, let's try that one more time. I think I got too many of one thing loaded. Okay, let's go to the next one here. Okay. Okay, precipitation for the 6 to 10 day outlook. This is slightly more than normal in the Cincinnati area. Back to about normal as we head to the 23rd of September, and the 3 to 4 week outlook goes back down below normal. Now, as I've been preaching, well, not preaching, but as I've been saying for weeks here, since we've been into this dry weather pattern, that with temperatures warmer than normal, now, and I didn't get a chance to do a graphic out of this, but just to summarize this, in May, we had 0.89 inches of rain greater than normal. In June, 1 month, we had 3.95 inches of rain less than normal. July back to 1.19 more than normal, 1.68 less than normal in August, and through September, we're about 0.82. So far, we've only had 7/100ths of an inch of rain this month. So if you add all that up from May 1st through today, we're 5.45 inches shy of the rainfall we normally get. Okay, so the one thing we need to do is we need to make up that deficit. That means the soil is really, really dry. And you know what? If you do some digging in your yard, our yard is kind of interesting because, of course, it's been a house for hundreds of years, and there's nice growing kinds of black soil on top, but below that is clay, because where my house is in Madisonville used to be the shores of the ancient Ohio River before the glaciers pushed everything back to the south, okay? And so there's a lot of clay there. But when you get down to the clay level, which is about anywhere from 9 inches to a foot beneath the topsoil, it's already dry. I mean, usually clay holds that moisture for a long time, but the clay has dried out also. So what that's telling you is that we need a lot of rain to get back up. So we're down 5.45 inches since the 1st of May. We have to make that up. In addition, since we're going to be warmer than normal heading into the beginning of October, we need more than normal precipitation to keep up, just to keep even. Okay, so and what's going to happen, instead of being 5.45 inches of rain, below normal as we head into the beginning of October, we're going to be further below normal. We could be, and I showed you this last week. Again, on Thursday, the new drought monitor will come out, and we'll go into all this. We'll go into how much rain we've had, how much rain we need, how bad the drought is over the next month. And we could conceivably be 7 to 8 inches shy of rainfall from May 1st through the first week of October. And that's a very serious dry conditions, because, first of all, one of the things is people don't realize is that even if your flowers have already bloomed and died out, they've lived their lives, the roots have to be healthy going into winter. So if it's a perennial, if your roots are dry and weak, and we get a cold snap, which causes that really cold freezing level to sink downward through the soil, you're going to end up with quite a few plants that don't make it. So if you've got a lawn that's dry and you need to water it, if you've got a garden and you want the perennials to come back in full force, you need to make sure those root systems are healthy going into winter. And if they dry out and die out, you just don't have much else. You don't have much hope. So what we're talking about is a really serious situation. So it's kind of serious for those of us that have lawns or gardens, but it's a career-threatening seriousness for local farmers. And when Ethan Emery was here last week with me, I think it was Thursday that we did it. We were talking about farmers, especially over near Adams and Highland counties, where it's been so dry. They usually bale hay during the growing season, save it as cattle feed during the winter when there's no grass available. Okay, well, they're already using that hay, and typically they don't start really using the hay until probably November. Okay, so it's a serious situation, not only for farmers with livestock, but for farmers with crops and that. And again, for those of you at home, if the root systems aren't healthy going into winter, it doesn't look like a good spring for you. Okay, so that is that part of it. Let me now go to the 7-day forecast, show you full screen. 7-day forecast looks like this. Now remember, a lot of these temperatures are going to depend upon how thick the cloud cover is. So we've got 83, 82 on Friday and Saturday. It's looking like that might work for here in the metro area, to the west and southeast Indiana, to the southwest and the western part of northern Kentucky. But if you're up in those areas like Highland County, Adams County, Clinton County that don't get much rain, you don't get the thick cloud cover either. It might be considerably warmer than what you see here. Okay, so just a note of caution that this really depends on how thick the cloud cover is and where the rain falls, and you could see some significant changes to temperatures there. But overall, temperatures peak 90 and 89 for Wednesday and Thursday, drop into the lower 80s. I think Friday we begin to see some showers during the morning hours, a few showers Saturday, maybe a few Sunday and Monday, But the latest models say Sunday and Monday will be dry and we won't see showers. It's too early to eliminate them from the forecast yet. When we get to beyond the 7-day forecast, I'm going to give you a second to look at this. Excuse me, I've got to get a drink of Diet Mountain Dew here. Okay. Yahoo Mountain Dew. So when we get to beyond the 7-day forecast, notice you've only got at least one day when there's rain in there, okay? Now, rainfall forecasting that far out is pretty difficult, but the takeaway from this, not specifically that Thursday the 19th will be dry, but that most of the days in that 7-day stretch will be dry, and conditions, soil moisture conditions, crop conditions will not improve as we head toward the 23rd of the month. So it's not really good news when you look at that, based on what we expect temperature-wise and what we expect precipitation-wise. Although big changes can occur, and they might, so just keep your hopes up. High temperatures for that 14-day stretch, the coolest are just about normal, but a little bit above normal. So every one of the 14 there, warmer than normal. Low temperatures make it back to normal on Thursday and then stay above normal through the 23rd. So warmer than normal means we need more rainfall than normal also. So I'm on camera 1 now, and those of you that watch all the time know that means I'm going to Facebook. And again, I've told you in the past that we're going to start taking comments in that on YouTube. We just had so many things going on at the station, we haven't had time to set that up, but we will be working on it, okay? I promise you that. It may not be here in the next few weeks, but we'll get to it. Okay, let me go now. Let's see, what do I have on camera? Okay, I'm on camera, so I'm not being rude by just talking and you're not seeing me. All right, we go to Facebook, and let's take a look at some of the comments. Susan says, hi, Steve, hope you had an awesome weekend. I had an awesome weekend. The way I look at it is every weekend is awesome. Some are more awesome. My wife and I had a good time. We did a bunch of stuff. Dogs had a good time, so for us it was a good weekend. Susan also says, bring us some rain this week, please. Susan, I sure wish we could. And again, as I explained it, it looks like the farther east and northeast you get of the city, the less rain you're going to have. I think it's going to be a good situation for much of southeast Indiana, for much of the western part of northern Kentucky, and we'll just have to hope that the models are all wrong about that low, what's left of Francine, dying out over southern Illinois. Sharon Steer says her green grass has turned into yellow straw. I know, it's just unbelievable. It hasn't been this dry around here for quite some time. And I remember the summer of '88 was a really dry one. I worked on a court case because what happened is an insurance company, I won't name the insurance company that was involved, had written a bunch of crop insurance for farmers, and then they were monitoring the weather conditions and saw the drought developing and started canceling the farmers' insurance. In other words, after the fact, after the drought began, they said, oh, we're going to lose a lot of money, we're just going to cancel it. And it was a big, big court case that I think the final was in favor of the farmers for like $89 million. I mean, it was a big, big case. So I remember the summer of '88. And then there was another one in the 90s that was like that, but I think this is maybe the driest I've seen in quite some time. Melvin Stone Street says, is it going to rain this week? Well, Melvin, depends upon where you are. If you're up in Middletown, maybe a little. If you're in Highland County, maybe nothing. Same thing with Clinton and parts of Adams. Hopefully, the models are wrong and this will spread further to the north and east, but some of us will get a nice soaking rain out of this. Molly Purcell Pollock says she sure does need a soaking rain. Their pond needs a good fill up. Okay, she said she sent me pictures on my email, my company email. Did you see them yet? I was off Friday evening. I didn't look at my company email until a few minutes ago before I got here. I got into the studio here. So Molly, I will look at them and I will show them on the air here on this tomorrow so that we can show you what it looks like. But she said her farm pond is almost gone. And she can't wait for fall. Me too. I love fall. Beautiful colors. Love the colors. Chelsea Blessing says, we have clay too under our dirt. The clay is hard to re-soak too. Chelsea, that's a really good point. Because the clay takes a while to dry out, but once it dries out, it shrinks back and it cracks. And I tell you what, when you if you dig under the topsoil and you hit those clay layers and they've dried out like that, it's like hitting concrete. You got to use a pickaxe to get through it. And then because it dries that way, it really forms a layer that the water has to sit on for a while to loosen up and soak in. So it takes a lot of rain, and it takes extended rainfall periods to get that clay back to normal. And some of the plants, even though they grow in the topsoil, the roots extend down to the clay. And if the clay is dry and hard, new root systems that are putting out can't penetrate that. So Chelsea, that was a great comment. Thank you for bringing that up. Chelsea, and that's after Chelsea is Michael D. Bays. It didn't say anything. He just says, hi. Well, hi, Michael. I'm glad you're watching. Pamela Williams says hi. Hi, Pamela. Shelley Seaman says hi. Shelley, hello to you. Hope you're doing okay. And that's it for right now. Those are all the comments, okay? Let me go over the 7-day forecast one more time for anybody that got in late. And then I'll call it a day. All right, so I tell you what. Before I go to the 7-day forecast, let me go and we'll start off with Francine. Okay, and then we'll go through that because that's important for everybody because of the potential for rain. And again, just don't get your hopes up too high. And it's loading right now. I'll go back to this program and I can see that now you can see it full screen. Okay, so that little curl right there off of Mexico, south of Texas, is Tropical Storm Francine. Francine is forecast by the National Hurricane Center to become a Category 1 hurricane tomorrow, then a Category 2 as it comes on shore in Louisiana. So there you see, right now it's a tropical storm, the unfilled circle. Then it becomes a 1 overnight. By 1 o'clock tomorrow, it's a 1. It becomes a 2 late tomorrow night into Wednesday, and then comes on shore Wednesday at 1 p.m. according to the latest forecast, with 100-mile-an-hour winds as a Category 2. Now, that means that there will be, and I was saying near Lake Charles, but it looks like it's a little east of Lake Charles, Louisiana, and the onshore winds are to the east of the track, and so that would mean a pretty devastating storm surge in southern Louisiana. And I tell you what, back in 2008, myself, Michael, we call him Buck. But Buck and I picked up some other people from another station in Evansville. We went down to Lake Charles, Louisiana to help them with Hurricane Gustav. Well, if you go from Lake Charles about 20 miles south to the coast, you've only changed the elevation 10 feet. In other words, here 20 miles inland, Lake Charles is only 10 feet higher than the shoreline. And there's a little river that goes up there, and that typically fills up. But storm surge can reach that far inland when you don't have that much elevation. So a lot of southern Louisiana has very low elevation, not a big steep climb to higher elevations. And so this Category 2 could bring on some devastating storm surge to the west of New Orleans and to the east of Lake Charles, according to the latest forecast. Okay, so if we go back to full screen and take a look at where it's going, it's going to pretty much follow the Mississippi River Valley, give or take a little bit, end up in southern Illinois. And right now, the models that I've been looking at say it is just going to die there. I mean, it's not going to go anywhere. It's just going to die and get absorbed and really not be much of anything. Now, that could mean excessive rainfall for western Kentucky, southwestern Indiana, around Evansville, and southern Illinois, but it means that we're on the edge right here in Cincinnati. Okay, so let's look. We'll look at what this model says here. You'll see it pop up, maybe. You'll see it pop up behind me. Okay, so this is tonight at 10 o'clock. Oh, sorry, hit the wrong space bar. And as we head on into Wednesday, head on into Thursday, then into Friday morning, there's a band of rain, okay, that's with that. Okay, you see the red is the heaviest rainfall. That's over in southwest Indiana, and that's 7:10 a.m. Friday. Okay, by the time we get to 12:40 p.m. Friday, notice how northeastern counties from Warren to Clinton to Highland to northern Adams and a good portion of Lewis are pretty much rain-free. Okay, so now what happens according to this model, once that rain moves in, it dies out pretty quickly, turns into some light showers, dies out but reforms for Saturday morning. Okay, that's 5:40 a.m. Saturday. But notice the same pattern, that most of Warren, all of Clinton, Highland, most of Adams, most of Lewis, still dry. Okay, as we head through the day on Saturday, it just dies out, and then notice how it moves everything moves off to the west, and we're done with it by the time we get into Sunday. So not much rainfall if you're taking a look to the north and east of us. What's going to happen here is you're going to see the dew points come up. So as Francine drags that tropical moisture northward, dew points will make it into the 60s starting Friday, so it'll be uncomfortably humid. The European model says there will be a number of spots like Falmouth, Dry Ridge, Florence, Cincinnati itself, Batesville, Lawrenceburg to get more than an inch of rainfall, and it could come down gradually enough to soak in. Okay, but the other model that we have, this is the American version of the global model, says even less than that, maybe only 7/100 of an inch in Cincinnati, so I'll have to keep watering my plants. But nothing in Middletown, Wilmington, Hillsborough, only 100th in West Union, 100th in Maysville. And so it's saying that don't get your hopes up. The trend is for there to be less and less rainfall as we go through this. Okay, wrong panel. All right. So now we take a look at the temperatures, and you can see that temperatures are mainly in the 70s, 66 in Batesville, 68 in Madison, 68 in Washington Courthouse, everybody else still hanging in the 70s. 7:57 is when the sun sets. That's about 11 minutes from now. It'll be 61 by 11 p.m. overnight, a low of 51 degrees. Okay, and Climate Prediction Center says warmer than normal, warmer than normal, and warmer than normal. So it looks like we're going to head into October warmer than normal. Precipitation slightly more than normal through the 19th. That's probably, that's a little bit encouraging, but again, that's another situation where you shouldn't get your hopes up. Then back to normal, 17th to the 23rd, and the 3 to 4 week outlook, which goes to the 7th of October, less than normal precipitation again. And so with warmer than normal weather, less than normal precipitation, or slightly higher than normal precipitation, just won't cut it. You need enough rainfall over several days or a week to slowly soak in and moisten things up. So overall, it's not a very hopeful outlook at this point. 7-day forecast calls for a low tonight of 51, 86 tomorrow, decent humidity again. 90, now this isn't a sultry 90, this is a 90, kind of a Great Plains 90, kind of a 90 you'd get in Lincoln, Nebraska, with low humidity, relatively low humidity, and so just enough you'll sweat a little bit, but certainly not overwhelming. Same thing on Thursday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, the humidity comes back up, but it's still not overwhelming. Still just kind of humid. You'll notice it. If you're outside doing some work, you'll sweat a lot. But the best chance for rain, Friday and Saturday. Sunday and Monday, a slight chance. I might even eliminate that from the new forecast here based on what the latest models are saying. And then again, less rain the farther northeast you are, so it doesn't look good for Adams, Highland, Clinton, and northern Warren counties. Extended outlook, still warmer than normal most of the time. By the 23rd of September, this is saying just a little bit above normal, and just a chance of rain a few days, so not much. And here's your 14-day temperature summary. Highs and lows there, you put the normals on, you can see that basically we've got 14 days in a row warmer than normal on the high side, and about 11 days in a row warmer than normal on the low temperature side. So that's it. Thank you for joining me. Have yourself a nice night. Tomorrow we'll talk more about that, and don't forget Thursday the drought monitor comes out. Now I'm off Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday this week, so meteorologist Ashley Smith will be here Wednesday, and then Thursday and Friday it'll be meteorologist Ethan Emery. And Ethan Emery really does a great job with the drought monitor and all that stuff, so he'll have the latest on all that for you. Okay, that's it. Thank you for joining me. Have yourself a nice night, and I hope to see you again tomorrow. And then all that's left is figuring out which button shuts us down. Technology is so great. Well, I know there's another way to do it. Do this. Da, 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 da.